Hi guys, how you doing in the September Shadows month? Got some good stuff for you today. Today we're going to talk about repeating lessons and the spiral of understanding. And I'm wondering about repeating lessons. So as you're working through this, and we're on day 12 now, and as we hit day 12, um, are you finding that some of the shadows that are coming up for you, some of the things that you're working through, that maybe you have this feeling of deja vu, wow, I thought I already worked through this. I thought I dealt with this. I thought I dealt with that relationship. I thought I dealt with that trauma. I thought I'd worked through it. Why is it coming up again? And I would have a couple of questions for you first. And that would be, is it coming up differently for you now? Or does it feel lighter? Does it feel, can you remember back to when you maybe worked through some of this before, maybe in counseling, maybe doing something similar to what we're doing now, maybe through a series of yoga classes or breathing work or whatever you did? Does it feel different now? Sorry, I forgot about my feather I got today. Does it feel different at all? Does it feel like, oh, okay, I worked through that part of it, but I still have some other stuff to work through in this particular area, right? So that's possible. And the best way that I can think of to explain that is in the spiral of understanding, okay? So if you think of a spiral, right? And the spiral of understanding, the way that it works is that it rises, right, and opens up. So you can almost imagine like a sort of like a tornado, except that it's going up. The power of it is moving up, okay? So as you come around the spiral, let's say you hit a lesson here, okay? And then you make another circle, and then you hit the same lesson again, essentially, right? It's about the same stuff. Let's say abandonment, okay? But it's got a slight twist on it. It's a bit different. It maybe doesn't feel as triggering, or it's a different scenario that you didn't think of as abandonment, because it wasn't, let's say if that, your parents had gotten divorced when you were a child and you were left with abandonment issues because you didn't have as much contact with one of your parents then. So the first time you came to the lesson, it might have been, in regards to that parent, right? And dealing with that parent later in life. So then you come back around, and this time the lesson is with a significant other or a really good friend. And that isn't so directly related. So you weren't maybe expecting that to be about abandonment, but then as you began to dig into it and really look at it and really feel into it, it was. And then you can come back around, and then, maybe it's about something completely different that seems completely unrelated. And yet, oh, here we are again at abandonment, right? But as you keep working up, if you are working through things, even though you may feel like you're repeating lessons, and even though it may feel like they're coming back again, right? If you're coming back to them and they're feeling different, or there's a twist on it, there's some slight difference, it's not exactly the same, then you are moving up the spiral of understanding. And you can say to yourself, this is not exactly the same. Yes, this is an issue I'm still working through, but I can see the progress that I've made. I can see that it's less triggering. I can see that it's a different scenario. I reacted differently. I figured it out more quickly than I did last time, and didn't spend so long in the dark place, right? Or in the vortex, the bad vortex. Because I also talk about vortexing when we are stuck, right? That we have these thoughts that we just vortex about, and there's no answer to them, and we don't feel like we feel sort of trapped in this circle, right? And that's what can also happen when we're talking about a lesson where you're not learning anything, where you're not actually working through anything, and where you're actually repeating the exact same lesson, okay? And that is just a circle. That's when you're just trapped, going around and around and around. And then you have to look at, okay, what am I not releasing? Why am I afraid to let this go? Why am I having trouble letting this go? What is it? And it could be that you don't feel like you haven't forgiven yourself for whatever happened. It could be that you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, that you feel like you feel obligated to take care of someone or something and don't feel like you can let it go, even if it's just energetically, right? So there can be any number of reasons that you're stuck repeating really the same lesson over and over again. And I leave it to you to figure that out, whether or not it's really the same lesson or it's a variation on a theme, okay? And then the other piece that I would put to this is that one thing to remember as you're working through this is that, and I love this came from one of my first mentors in this iteration of my understanding, Shomit Mitter in London, whom I just have all kinds of time for and adore. Shomit said to me, he's the first one who said to me that, your greatest enemy can be your greatest teacher, right? Or your greatest enemy is your greatest teacher. And that is really powerful when you think about it. And then if you extend that to the worst things that ever happened to you are not only potentially your greatest lessons, they are your greatest opportunities for growth, for understanding, for enlightenment, for moving forward, whatever you want to call it, right? For peace, for access to peace and calm and joy, right? Those are your greatest opportunities, right? Those are your wake-up calls. And they may have been really traumatic, and I am not denying that. But one of the ways to stay out of a circular repeating lesson is to take yourself out of possibly feeling like a victim, right? And blaming other people for all the trouble that you have. Because at some point, you have to you're the only one that can fix it. You're the only one that can change it. Doing something to another person, getting revenge, is not going to change how you feel. It's not actually going to fix anything in you, right? So to change your perspective and to think of someone that you consider to be a great enemy or someone who did you a terrible wrong as someone who is offering you the opportunity to learn something about yourself, right? And a way to deal with that, for me, was very empowering. And for me, has continued to be a really helpful way to look at difficult situations, to when crises happen, when difficult times come, when challenging things happen. If I can remember to look at it as an opportunity for growth, as a chance to learn a lesson about myself, to figure out, to look at, okay, how far have I come? How quickly am I able to turn this over, turn it around, move it into something else, turn it into positive energy, right? That's the thing, right? And that shift in perspective is what will help keep you out of just cycling around in the same lesson over and over again, which, let's be honest, is a miserable experience, okay? But instead, moving up the spiral of understanding about ourselves, understanding about how the world, the universe works, how to work within it, how to help it work for us, right? So you want to keep moving up the spiral of understanding. You can change your perspective by thinking of difficult challenges and difficult people as a way in to do that, as a way to learn about yourself. And to understand that if you're moving up, if the lessons have variations in them, then you are moving up, even if it feels sometimes like you're coming back to the same thing over and over again. Because you will keep repeating those lessons until change occurs, until you're able to shift out. But you are the one with the power. You are the one in control. That's the thing to remember. And that's the most empowering piece. You have the control. You have the power to change this. So let's do it. Let's do it. And that's what I have today. Thank you so much for joining me again. Again, questions, thoughts, comments, reach out, put them in. I will respond. Thanks, and have an awesome day.